Hello, bookworms! Today I'm going to be giving you a belated look at my May wrap-up. I was very busy with BEA and moving, so you're also going to have to kind of bear with me. If you can't tell, this is like a sort of new setup, but we kind of like MacGyvered everything to make it look more like how it was, and it's gonna look better in the future. But anyway, I also, despite labeling like every single box that I packed, can't find half the books that I need, so I'm just going to be inserting some images when they're necessary. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. The first book that I read in May was Something Real by Heather Demetrios. I really loved this book. For those who don't know, I was on a reality show, and this book is about a girl that's also on a reality show and resents it very much, and I really liked it because I felt like it was something that I could relate to, and it was something that I just thought was really interesting because there's going to be like more generations of these people that are just online from the moment that they're born, and they don't really even have a choice in the matter. Like, it's their parents making it for them. So I just thought that was like fascinating, and I thought that the way that she portrayed the producers and the way that people just lie to you about things, like, it was just so accurate. Like, I just loved it so much. So I gave that book 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read this month is P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. I was lucky enough to get a bound manuscript of the book, like probably toward like the beginning of May when before it came out, and oh my gosh, I was in all of my glory because I had just been dying for that conclusion. I loved it so much. It was the perfect ending to the series, and I even liked it more than I liked the first one, which is sort of unbelievable, but it was just so good. Like, the Song Sisters are like some of my favorite people to read about, and if Jenny Han would just like keep writing about them forever, I would love that, and I would read everything. Like, I love the romance with Peter Kay, obviously, but even if he wasn't there, I would still just be interested in reading about Kitty and Lara Jean and Margot and just them as sisters bonding with their father. Like, it's just so good, which is not always the case in YA novels. There's often an absence of parents and family, and I just love it. Like, Jenny Han just does an amazing job. So I give P.S. I Still Love You 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is Behind the Scenes by Dahlia Adler. This book I didn't love so much. It was okay. I finished it, but I finished all books, so I guess that doesn't really say much. But it was about this girl who has a best friend that's in Hollywood, and her friend gets cast as the lead role on this new TV show, and her and the main male character on the show are forced into like a fake romance by the publicists who try to just like garner hype before the new TV show is going to be coming out. But this one girl, she actually is the one that's in a relationship with the guy, and she's just constantly having to watch her best friend pretend to be in the relationship. So it was very difficult for her, and I thought that it was interesting. It definitely read like a CW teen soap opera, which makes sense because that's kind of like what it is. So I can't really fault it for that. But there were parts where I was just kind of a little bit bored. I don't know if maybe it was because I had just read Something Real so close, and I loved that book. So I was definitely comparing the two a lot more when I was reading Behind the Scenes. I'm not positive if I'm going to continue with that series. So I'll see. But I gave Behind the Scenes by Dahlia Adler 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I had been really looking forward to this because people kept saying that it was like the next Gone Girl, that it was this great psychological thriller, and while I thought it was very interesting, and it definitely had me, kept turning the pages very quickly because I wanted to know what was going to happen next, I didn't love it. The main character is an alcoholic, and she is a very unreliable narrator, so I just found myself constantly questioning whether what she was saying was the truth or not, and it made it really difficult for me to get through. And even just besides her, I kind of realized that there was not one character in the book that I actually liked as a person or could ever see myself like being friends with. So I think that that's why I struggled with it a little bit, because I just couldn't relate to any of it. I was like looking forward to finding out what the real story is. I can't give too much of a synopsis because you're supposed to go into this blind. It's a girl that rides the same train every day, sees something, and then there's this whole mystery. So while I did want to find out the end result, I wasn't rooting for any character. I was kind of like, whatever. So I gave The Girl on the Train 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is The Summer of Chasing Mermaids by Sarah Ackler. I really, really enjoyed this book. It took a little while for me to get into it, but it's basically a contemporary novel that is inspired by The Little Mermaid, and there have really not been any Little Mermaid retellings or anything that I've read, so I was really interested in picking that up because Little Mermaid is like my favorite Disney movie. So it's about this girl who loses her voice and then goes to live in this really small, tiny, like beachy town, and she gets involved with this guy named Christian who's kind of like the playboy, and the two of them decide to work together in this race that his father gets him involved in, and it's basically like it's a huge deal because if they lose, the father's going to sell all of his property, and the little town that they've loved and summered in every year is going to turn into this very like commercialized place that is just not anything that the Cove should be. So besides the main character not having a voice and some of the characters having the same names from The Little Mermaid, like Christian's little brother's name's Sebastian, and he's just like the cutest kid in the entire world, and he's obsessed with mermaids, and it's just adorable, and I wanted to hug him like throughout the entire book. Besides those things, there weren't too many similarities, but I did love how Sarah Ackler was able to make the book a lot about how it's important to find your inner voice, and there are still things that you can do to make your voice heard even if you're not speaking. So it was just, oh my gosh, it was just so well done, and I just loved it like so much. So I gave Summer of Chasing Mermaids 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is The Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I've heard so much about this book. I can't believe that I haven't read it yet because so many people just love it, and it's one of those things that I just didn't get to, and now I'm really glad that I have. It's an angels and demons type story, and it's just written so beautifully. I really fell in love with the setting of this book. It takes place in Prague, and the way that Laini Taylor describes it, like, you can just see everything happen so vividly. Like, it's just gorgeous, and now I totally want to visit there. But it definitely does end on a major cliffhanger, so I need to, like, read the second book immediately. But I had 2 issues with the book. The first one being I wasn't as into the romance as everyone else was. I think that maybe I will be able to watch it develop further as the series continues, and then maybe I'll be more on board with it, but I just wasn't totally feeling it. And then my second issue was that toward the end of the book, I think that there are some issues with the pacing of the story because things change at one point, and once that happens, it just, I don't know, it was just weird. But I enjoyed it nonetheless. Like I said, it was beautifully written, and it was a really good beginning to the trilogy, so I am definitely going to continue on with it. And I gave Daughter of Smoke and Bone 4 out of 5 stars. And then the last book that I read in May is my reread of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I mean, I feel like it's ridiculous that I keep rating these because every single Harry Potter book just gets 5 out of 5 stars. Like, Harry Potter is everything, and there is no other rating that it could ever get because it's amazing. But I particularly loved rereading this one because Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite Harry Potter book, and I just loved like reading about the Marauders again. And I just wish J.K. Rowling would like do more with them, or like make a just create a whole series based on them, because I would read that like forever. Like, it would just be great. So good, Harry Potter. So that is my May wrap up. I would love to know what you guys have read in May, so you can tell me down in the comment section below, and then we can keep talking about books. And I'll see you guys soon with a new video. Bye! Like, I would still just be interested in reading about Kitty and can't speak. The next book that I read is The Summer of Chasing Mermaids by Sarah. I wasn't as into the romance as everyone else was. I found that, I don't know, I should just start that over.